Hello, beautiful people. Hope everybody's had a great week. I want to say thank you guys very much for listening, watching, paying attention. I really appreciate the feedback and the support. You guys are really awesome. Thank you very much. For this week, I've been thinking a lot about life not being a spectator sport. And what I mean by that is I went to a baseball game on Friday. I was invited to a minor league baseball game. It was really cool, really cool experience. It's a small stadium, so everybody's got a really good seat. It's in a small town, so really cool experience, really cool venue, great crowd, great food, that kind of thing. So really cool entertainment. It was a lot of fun. And while I was there, and since I left, I've been thinking about how much time I used to spend on sports and baseball and things like that. And I love baseball. I started playing baseball when I was like 4 or 5, and played up to high school. So I love baseball. It's my favorite sport, and I miss it quite a bit. But when I was thinking about the game and after I left there, I was, just thinking about how much time I had spent during the course of my life on, not when I was playing baseball, but as a spectator and just watching. And I spent a lot of time, my late teenage years, 20s, 30s, all that, paying attention to and being a spectator, not just of baseball, but really being a spectator in life. I was always in a state of watching or paying attention to somebody else live their life. And I know that's kind of a strange way to say it, but in a way, that's really what we're doing. If you're watching a baseball game or watching a football game or watching television, are you really living your life, or are you just watching somebody else live theirs? Are you just a spectator to someone else's life? Is the whole your whole existence the idea, or being entertained by other people living their life? And when I think about it, I spent a lot of time, and I mean a lot of time in my life, living life as a spectator. And a lot of it came in not just the form of sports, but in the sense of not necessarily spectating, being a spectator, but escaping my reality. So what I mean by that is, like, for instance, like drugs, alcohol, partying, things like that. A lot of that came from, looking back at it now, it came from the desire to escape my reality. I wasn't happy with myself or who I was, or my life circumstances or my situation, whether it was, health or finances or personal life or relationship or work or whatever. I wasn't satisfied or happy with my life. So I used these tools as a way to escape my reality. And like I said, drugs and alcohol were like my go-to. I was, always out drinking, partying, doing whatever to escape, who I was, or try to find a way to run for myself or close myself off from my reality and go out and experience something that's not really a reality, but I was trying to create this false reality of a life that really had no substance or meaning whatsoever. And when I think back about sports, so for example, I would watch a ton of sports. If I wasn't working, I was out partying, and typically that included watching sports. I did a lot of betting and gambling on sports, baseball, football, UFC, boxing, pretty much anything you could bet on. But I also paid attention to the games because I had money right on the game. So while I'm escaping my reality, while I'm out at the bar drinking, partying, whatever, I'm tuned into somebody else that's literally living out their dreams. These people, especially athletes or even actors in movies or television, they've prepared their entire lives to be in this situation, and they're out there living their dreams, and they're getting paid tons and tons of money to go out there and do it. And we're just spectators. We're just watching these people, literally live their dreams and live a life that they built, and they don't need to escape from. They don't need to be entertained. And that's kind of how I look at it. I look back at my life, and I spent a lot of years, not just days, weeks, months, hours. Like, I spent years with the need or desire to be entertained. And I don't know if that's just me or if anybody else feels that way, but what is our desire? What is the reason why we feel like we just need to be entertained all the time? And at some point I came to a realization that that's really what I was doing. I was trying to escape my reality, escape my life, and I was using some form of entertainment or some form of drugs and alcohol to escape my reality, and I needed to be entertained. And at some point I just figured out that I just didn't, my life and my existence here on this planet wasn't going to be consumed by my desire to be entertained. That I didn't need to be entertained 24/7. That wasn't the world's responsibility to entertain me. That I could be an active member of my outcome, and in this life, I can be an active member of producing something rather than just consuming, being a consumer of entertainment, you know, television, movies, sports, whatever the case is. Like, I was just a consumer. I would just consume all this. And like I said, I finally figured out that I wasn't going to be, I wasn't going to be a spectator in life, and life wasn't going to be a spectator sport for me. That I was going to stop being a spectator and stop being a consumer and start being a producer. And that was a hard shift to make, because like I said, my life literally revolved around consumption, you know, consuming entertainment, consuming drugs and alcohol. And that's really what I did my entire, you know, late teenage and adult life. It was, you know, 25 years or whatever it was, just consumed with the need and the want to escape my reality and be entertained. So when I was at this baseball game, I enjoyed it. It was fun and it was entertainment, but I felt like I saw it for what it was, and it was entertainment. There was a day, you know, it's been a few years, but all these sports, NFL, baseball, like, I knew all the players, all their positions, all their stats. Like, it was just, I absorbed all this information, and it's just so pointless. Like, when I was at this game on Friday, and it helped me to hear some people around me talking about the game, because it helped me realize how far I had come from where I was literally addicted to consuming entertainment. But I was listening to people around me talk about the game, and of course there's always people around you, or people that, you know, they just know everything about the game. They know everything. They know all the stats. They know all the players. They know all the information. They know all the rules. And they know all these goofy statistics. Oh my gosh, the statistics that come along with these sports, you don't see it while you're in it. Like, you can't see the forest from the trees. So while you're one of the sports fans, while you're watching the NFL or MLB, and you're reciting all this information, like, you're just regurgitating all this stuff that you saw on ESPN or whatever the case is, and it makes you feel connected to a group, and it makes you feel like you're in the know. But when you're not in the group and you're not a part of this, you know, clique of people that follow the sport, you start to realize, like, how absolutely ridiculous some of this stuff is and how ridiculous it sounds. And one of the examples is, and like I said, this is kind of tells me how far I've come, because some things have changed in the sport. You know, some rule changes have come into play. They've started tracking things differently with different metrics and different statistics that weren't in the game a few years ago. So, for instance, something that's come along in the past couple years that I'm not familiar with, I've seen it in the past few months. I know what it is, but it's absolutely ridiculous and stupid. But people talk about it now because they want to feel connected to the group, and they want to feel like they know what they're talking about. So they just, like I said, they regurgitate this information that they saw on ESPN. But when you're not in the group and you overhear somebody say it, like, I'm just in my mind, I'm just thinking, like, this is the most ridiculous thing to even be having a conversation about. But somebody in my general area was talking to his buddy, and he was saying that one of the players hit a home run, and the guy in the section with me was telling his buddy, he's like, yeah, I wonder what his exit velocity was. Was it like 105 or 110? And I know what exit velocity is, and if you're not familiar with it, it's basically like when a player hits the ball, how fast the ball leaves the bat, the exit velocity. So they've started in the past couple of years tracking this speed, and I guess apparently it's a big deal now because, you know, MLB players hit these crazy numbers, and they're always like, you know, a half a mile an hour faster than this other guy, and who's got the highest exit velocity. So it's a new stat in the past couple of years. Now they're tracking it. Now people are talking about it. And it just sounds absolutely ridiculous and absurd and stupid for me as a person that's not following the game to be hearing somebody talk about it. There's a train coming by. Sorry, I had to let that train go by. But me being a not in the group, not in the baseball crowd anymore, to hear somebody talk about something so meaningless and pointless and ridiculous makes me realize that I did make the right decision by separating myself from this life of consumption and this life of constantly needing to be entertained, especially when it came to sports. Because a lot of the stuff that I used to recite as far as stats and measurements and where this player went to college and all this stuff, like how meaningless and pointless this information is and how useless it is to my life. Like these players that I memorized everything about them that you could possibly know from a public vantage point was useless in my life. It did no good. Like whatever bets I made, I lost most of my bets. Like that's just how betting works. That's how gambling works. You're not meant to win. They didn't build Las Vegas on winners, right? So I lost most of my bets. So all that information that I took in really was useless anyway. But it made me feel connected. It made me feel like I knew what was going on. It made me feel like I thought, I knew better, or I thought I knew the outcome of games, which you don't, obviously. But just being around the environment just made me realize that I made the right decision to understand and realize that my life did not need to be filled with entertainment and consumption of other people's lives. And it was good for me to be back in that sort of setting, so I could, like I said, I could kind of look in the rearview mirror and see how far I've come from that being, literally most of my life was following and paying attention to other people's lives. Like I said, whether it was through movies or television or sports or whatever the case is. And now I see all these things in the media and on television, and I just don't care. I don't listen to it. I don't pay attention to, what rappers got beef with another rapper, or what Hollywood couple is happening right now, or what Hollywood divorce is happening right now, or who won the Super Bowl, or who won the World Series. Like I just don't care. It just doesn't have any meaning. It doesn't add any value to my life. And part of that realization came when I realized that I was dumping a lot of my energy and my time and my life force and my money, or whatever, my resources, my life energy, into these players that had no idea who I was, and they were never going to know who I was, and they don't care. So it was like this realization that I was living on a one-way street where I was giving and giving and giving and giving and getting nothing in return. And I finally realized that was like a complete waste of my time and energy, that I needed to do something more productive with my life, because I wasn't going to get to the end of my life and be like, oh man, I sure wish I would have watched more baseball games, or I sure wish I would have watched more Netflix, or I sure wish I would have watched more NFL games. Like I realize that I'm not going to get to that point in my life where I wish I would have done more of that. So if I reverse engineer that thought process, then the reality is the least amount of time I could possibly spend on those things is probably a benefit to me and how I want to spend the rest of my life. And when I was in the stadium, I kept hearing people around me critiquing these, whether it was the ump or the coach or a player, and everybody, not everybody, but people in the stands were as if they could have done a better job in that given situation. And you see this all the time in sports where spectators, people that are observing the sport, they're always trash talking the quarterback, they're trash talking the coach, they're trash talking the refs and the umps. They just trash talk anything and everything that doesn't go exactly perfect. And they think that somehow, some way, if they were the quarterback, it would have been better, or if they would have been the head coach, or if they would have been the ref or the ump. And it's just bizarre, because you see these knuckleheads that, for example, they will, some internet troll will pick a fight with some UFC fighter or something, and they'll challenge a UFC fighter to a fight, and of course they show up and they just get completely smoked, because they just don't have any idea the size, the speed, the skill, the practice. They just have no idea. So the idea that you could just come out of the stands and take anybody's position on the field and even do an okay job is absurd. But we overestimate our ability as a spectator as to how significant our role is in what's really going on out there. And that's a delusion that we get from watching it and paying attention. Like, we think we know because we've watched it and we know these stats and we know these numbers and we know where the strike zone is. So we think that if we were the umpire, we would call every ball a ball, every strike a strike, every safe call is going to be a safe call, and every out's going to be an out. And it's just not reality. But that's the delusion we sell ourselves, because we think that we're in the know because of consumption. We consume all of this stuff, You see people all the time talking trash about UFC fighters and how bad they would, kick so-and-so's ass. Oh, this guy only weighs 160 pounds. I'd whip his ass. Like, this 160-pound trained fighter, from whether he's, into boxing or Muay Thai or Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, whatever the case is, this guy's gonna smoke like 99% of people on the street, regardless of size, regardless of weight. He's just gonna smoke them because that's what he does for a living. Like that's the world that he lives in, and he trains and practices every single day. So it doesn't matter how much you watch it or how much you pay attention to it or how many times you've watched a UFC match. Like this guy that weighs 150, 160 pounds is gonna whip your ass all over the ring. It's just not even feasible for you to win, but we get overconfident with our abilities because we think we know something by watching. So I say all that nonsense just basically to sum it up with, life is not a spectator sport. You're not adding value to a sport by watching it. You're not adding value to a sport by paying attention to it. Screaming at the television is not doing any good. I live in Dallas, Fort Worth, so there's a lot of Dallas Cowboy fans here, and it's pure chaos. Even outside of football season, how much people invest their lives into the Dallas Cowboys. And again, to me, it's entertainment. Like when I go to Vegas or I go to the casino, to me, it's entertainment. Like I take X amount of dollars and that's my entertainment money. Like I'm not expecting to win. When you get emotionally invested in it is when it probably becomes a problem. And people get super emotionally invested in the outcome of sporting events. And I'm not saying you should just not care or whatever, but if you care a little bit too much about the outcome of the game, it might be time to reevaluate how much of this you're consuming or how much you're investing in it, and how much this is, how significant of an impact this is going to have on your life and the people around you and the people that you care about. One of my coaches about 2 weeks ago, we had a session where he led off by saying, if you found out that you had 5 minutes left to live and you could teleport anybody into that room for your last 5 minutes, who would those people be? And if you think about that, like how many people would teleport any of these athletes on television? How many people would teleport these refs or a UFC fighter or a Dallas Cowboy or a Texas Ranger? Like you wouldn't. Like the people that mean the most to you are your close friends, your family, your kids, your grandkids, your parents. Like those are the people that you would teleport into the room with you if you had 5 minutes left to live. Yet how many hours a day or a week or a month are you spending investing in people that aren't going to be there for your last 5 minutes? And like I said, at some point, I don't know what finally clicked for me, but at some point I just realized that me investing a bunch of my time and energy and effort and resources into essentially people that are out there living their dreams that don't care about me, I finally just had to flip the switch and unplug my television and just walk away from it. And that doesn't mean I don't miss watching a game. It doesn't mean I don't miss keeping up with the players. It doesn't mean I don't miss it, but I had to make a sacrifice on what's more important. Is their outcome more important than my outcome? And that's sort of what drove me to finally just, like I said, pull the plug and just move on with my life, and decided I wanted to be a consumer. I didn't want to be a consumer anymore. I wanted to be a producer. And if I spent my entire life, 20, 30, 40 years of 50, 60 years of adulthood in a constant need to be entertained or in a constant need to escape, and part of that's, like I said, the drugs and alcohol. Like if I spend my entire adult life trying to escape my entire adult life, like that's bad. Like I need to take the time to build or construct a life that I don't need to escape from. I need to build and construct a life that doesn't require 50, 60, 70 hours a week of entertainment. Like, is my life so bad that I had to be entertained by other people living their life, living their best life, or whatever the cool terminology is now? Like, do I need to be entertained 50, 60 hours a week by other people that are living their life? So, like I said, I just had to draw a line somewhere and decide that I wanted to build a life that was not something that needed to be I needed to escape from. Like, I don't want to have a life that I constantly need to feel like I need to run from, that I constantly have to be drunk or high or taking pills or watching a game or watching television to escape my reality. Like, how bad is that to be in a life situation where you constantly feel like you have to be disconnected from it, and our phones are another form of that. Like, how bad is your life where you're constantly having to be on your phone? You're glued to your phone because the world around you, your immediate vicinity, is so bad, and you dislike it so much that you pick up your phone and you teleport yourself to wherever it is that whatever it is that's going on in your phone. So I know I'm kind of rambling at this point, but that's just something I've been thinking about since I was at that game, because it was just really, it really, like I said, it helped me look in the rearview mirror and see how far I've come in the past couple of years. And it didn't take as long as I thought it would take to get this far. And it kind of surprised me. And I say this far, I make it sound like I've gone somewhere or done something, and I really haven't. But it's more about how you feel about it than where you may actually be. Because if you're in a okay situation and you feel horrible about it and you're constantly trying to escape it, then you're selling yourself short on taking an okay situation and making it a great situation, because you think that you can't get there, you think that it's not possible. So you're constantly trying to escape your okay situation and giving up on the possibility or the reality that you could make a great situation out of an okay situation. So in my case, I was in a horrible situation, and I've slowly made it an okay situation. I've created I created a life in a situation where I don't feel like I constantly have to escape. I constantly don't have to be running from myself, or constantly have to running from my situation, whether it be through entertainment or drugs and alcohol. Like, I don't feel like I have to escape all the time. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't get stressed. I don't have things that bother me. I don't get lonely, or I don't have things that get to me. And I'm self-employed, so there's days and weeks and months at a time where I just have this, to hell with this, I'm done, I'm selling everything, and I'm moving to Colombia. Like, people that know me closely, like they know I have those days and weeks and months where I'm just fed up, I'm tired of fighting the fight, I'm tired of it being uphill. But I'm telling you, all those battles, all those wars, all those days, weeks, hours, months of fighting is worth it when you're doing it for yourself. Whenever and I don't mean being self-employed, like, you can be elite at your job, you can be elite in your field and still get the best out of life and not feel like you have to escape it. So I don't mean self-employed by doing it for yourself. You can work for a company and still be elite and good and great and build a great life. So don't think that self-employment's the only way. But I put myself in a situation where I don't feel like I have to escape all the time. Again, I do feel like, hey, everybody could use an extra week of vacation. Everybody could use a long weekend. Everybody can use more time off. I get all that. But at the same time, like, I don't constantly wake up and feel like I've got to be glued to my phone to be entertained. I've got to be glued to a television to be entertained, or I've got to be drinking something or popping pills or whatever to get away from whatever it is that's in my proximity that I don't like. So like I said, I'm kind of rambling now at this point. Let's see where I'm at on time. I'm doing all right. So I don't know if that resonates with you at all, but I hope that you are building a life that you don't feel like you have to escape from, that you're building a life that you don't feel like you have to run from. And I hope you look at entertainment like it's entertainment. I hope you realize that your life matters. What you do here is important. And you are going to get to a point in your life where you look back and you're going to say, I wish I would have done X, Y, and Z. And the only way to do X, Y, and Z is to not be a consumer. Like, you can't produce X, Y, and Z when you're consuming. Like, it just cannot be done. You cannot dip your toes in both ends. Like, you either have to produce or you have to consume. There's no gray area. So I hope you take the time to evaluate your life, evaluate how much time you spend being entertained. And is that how you want to spend the rest of your life? Is that how you want to spend your nights? Is that how you want to spend your weekends? Is that how you want to spend, I've been on vacation with friends, and the whole time we're gone, they want to watch television. I'm like, this is insane. Like, I'm not going to sit here while I'm in Colombia and watch music videos. Like, that's not why I came here, So please look at your life, and again, this is for me, because there are times where I get glued to my phone for too long throughout the day, or I get in consumer mode where I'm constantly like looking and searching, and whether it's trying to buy something or attain something or get to something. and just be content with what I have, and then start producing something so I can get where I'm going, and start reaching for a great life instead of just an okay life, or reach for an okay life instead of a miserable life, or whatever current situation that I'm in. Because I can promise you, like, consuming is just not going to get you there. It can't. Like, what's the coding expression? Garbage in, garbage out. If you're spending 4 or 5, 6 hours, and I'm not saying sports is garbage, so don't, if you're a sports fan, don't take it that way. Sports are great, they're entertainment, but that's what they are, they're entertainment. But if you're spending 4, 5, 6 hours a day on garbage, whether it's on Netflix or on movies or on a series or on sports, like, garbage in, garbage out. Like, you can't produce something meaningful when you're not consuming anything meaningful. I had a customer in the store this weekend, and they were talking about they knew somebody that knew somebody that we like I said, I live in Texas, and I live in the North Texas area, so Yellowstone's a big deal here. Weatherford's not too far from here, so Yellowstone's like a big deal here. I've never seen an episode. I don't know the people. I don't know, I don't know anything about it other than there's some of those people live around here. That's really all I know. But I had a customer in over the weekend, and Yellowstone got brought up, and they were talking about they know somebody that knows somebody that's met them and how nice they are, which is great. I'm happy to hear that they're good people. But they knew all these people by name, and I'm just like, I just don't know. Like, I can't relate. I can't connect. And that doesn't mean that I'm supposed to know everything out there. Like, there's a lot of stuff I don't know. There's a lot of stuff that if people were having a conversation with me, I would just be like, I don't know what you're talking about, So I'm not saying that I should know, but to not know actors and actresses is kind of good for me. Like, I'm glad that I didn't know. Like, I'm happy for them that they know somebody that knows somebody, and they're connected, and that they're good people. Like, that's good information, but it's not useful information to me. Like, to know these people by name doesn't provide any value to my life, and these people don't know who I am. They're probably never going to know who I am, and they don't care who I am. So me using up bandwidth in my mind and storage in my mind to know who these people are is a waste to me. So I'm glad I see it that way now. I haven't always been that way. Like I said, I used to store all these people, first name, last name, height, weight, college, their 40 time, their, how many home runs, RBIs. Like, I used to have all this, all this information stored in my head, and it's all gone, thankfully. But I use that for something useful and something meaningful, or at least something helpful to me in my life. So I don't know if that's of any value to you guys, or if it's helpful at all. And again, I'll watch this later. So reminder to me for watching this later, please continue to produce. Do not be a consumer. Don't live your entire life being a consumer. You're not going to wake up one day, if God willing, if you live to be 80 or 90 years old, I'm not going to, and you're not going to look back and say, man, I wish I would have watched the the grand finale of The Sopranos. Like, I just don't care, So I want to spend my time doing something useful, something meaningful, and probably maybe it's just age at this point, but I feel better now when I get disconnected or when I unplug. So that's sort of where I'm going. I'm not trying to be more connected and more plugged in. I'm trying to be more disconnected and more unplugged. So just be thinking about that. Like I said, I've been thinking about it a lot the last couple days. So I hope that means something for you. I hope that does something for you. Please do your best to be a producer and not a consumer. It will be a game changer for you, and then hopefully you'll do the same as me, and you'll look in the rearview mirror one day, and you'll look back and see, hey man, I've really come a long way. I've started making some changes. I've started doing some great things in my life, and I'm happier now, and I like being a producer rather than a consumer. So anyway, if you guys want to hear more, let me know. If you want to hear less, let me know. Anything particular you want to hear about, let me know. Like I said, I'm extremely grateful for your guys' feedback, the phone calls, the text messages. You guys are really awesome. Thanks for paying attention. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And I love you guys. Take care of each other. Happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there. Hope you guys had a great one. Hope it's the best one yet. And like I said, I love you guys. Take care of each other, and we'll see you soon. Bye.